Welcome back. Yesterday was Cyber Monday, and online shoppers, wow, they turned out they spent 30% more on Cyber Monday than last year, according to data reported by the Wall Street Journal. Now, retailers were trying to sustain a 13% gain in total Thanksgiving weekend spending, reported by the National Retail Federation. So is this all a good sign for an economy in the doldrums? The OECD did, after all, just cut forecasts for U.S. growth next year from 2.6% to just 2%. So is this a good thing, all of these consumers spending money, or does it not do much, since chances are many of the goods these shoppers shelled out for on sale weren't made in the U.S.? Here's what Schiff had to say.
Consumption is the reward for economic growth. It doesn't cause growth. It's production. It's because all this stuff was manufactured that we get to consume it. And you're right, most of the stuff that people bought on Black Friday or Cyber Monday was produced outside the United States. And so foreign economies generated that production, and they basically sold it to us, although unfortunately we're having to borrow the money to pay for it. But also, I think if you look at some of the deals that were being offered, I'm not even sure how much money a lot of the retailers actually earned. Because in order to get Americans to buy stuff, they really slashed prices to the point that they might have even sold some stuff at a loss. I'm not sure. But they were really giving away the store in many respects. So yeah, they got revenues, but did they actually get profits? I mean, it still remains to be seen.
Yeah, and deals are not. The reality is Americans can still continue to buy this stuff on the cheap, in part because the dollar has remained strong. Why do you think that is? I mean, you've been calling, or have called, for a dollar collapse in the past.
Well, it's only strong in a relative sense. I mean, if you compare it to the euro, now the Japanese yen has been falling. If you look at the dollar compared to gold, it's been extremely weak, certainly over the last decade. Now, over the last few months, it's weakened a bit, but it hasn't collapsed. And I think it's only a question of time before that happens. I can't tell you exactly how much time, but I know it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen relatively soon. And I also believe that the world looks at the dollar kind of as the best of a bad lot, when in reality it's the worst of that bad lot. And so I think that we unfairly benefit from this false perception, and I think it's more of a self-perpetuating situation. It's only because people perceive the dollar as safe that they buy it as a safe haven. But it's not really based on fundamentals. It's just the reputation, but it's not deserved. I mean, maybe 20 or 30 or 40 years ago that was the case, but that's not the case any longer. And I think when perception finally matches reality, you're going to see the dollar not only weak against real money, but weak against other fiat alternatives that I think, even though those currencies are flawed, I don't think they're as flawed as the dollar.
But Peter, with something like the dollar's strength relative to other currencies and the perception that the dollar is a safe haven, even though fundamentally it may not be, doesn't that perception matter as an investor? Because if you're betting on a dollar collapse right now, you're going to get crushed. The dollar index has been up since 2011. So what do you tell average people?
Well, the average person isn't betting on a collapse right now. I mean, no one is buying, options that expire next month, puts on the dollar index, or, maybe some people are. That's not what I'm advising people to do. So I'm not telling people to bet on a dollar collapse tomorrow. I'm just telling people to prepare for a dollar collapse, because it's going to come. Whether it comes tomorrow, next month, next year, I'm not smart enough to know that. But I can see it coming and know that the only way to prepare for it is to do it as early as possible, because if you don't do it too early, then you run the risk of doing it too late. And of course, you can't do it too late. Once the train leaves the station, if you're not on it, you missed it.
Are there other factors too, though, that people need to pay attention to that can create dollar strength and keep it there, though? For example, something you talk a lot about is debt. People need dollars to pay debt. So there's a reason why people would have demand for dollars, where there would be demand for dollars.
Well, but we have to borrow all these dollars, and a lot of the debts ultimately can't be paid unless we print more of them, because we're not earning the money. We're just going to have to create it out of thin air. But the perception is what's driving everything. And if you think back to the days of the dot-com boom, when people were chasing internet stocks,